Hello friends, if you are planning to go abroad and are finding it difficult to crack the IELTS exam, then this course is just for you. Do you think grammar is just a lot of boring rules? Well, think in a different way, my friends, because learning grammar can be fun. Let me help you to change your thinking. Can you imagine any language without grammar? Take an example of your vernacular language. Words, parts of speech, broken sentences, subject, verb, object. That is how grammar plays a role. A language is incomplete without grammar, and so is IELTS, as it is a language proficiency test. So, welcome to IELTS Academic Test Preparation course. I am Pooja Goswami and I will be teaching you grammar needed for IELTS exam. Why you need to learn grammar for IELTS exam? In the IELTS test, grammar is awarded a separate band score in both speaking as well as writing modules. You are assessed on your ability to use correct and appropriate grammar and on the range of sentences that you produce. Even simple sentences need to be written accurately. But in order to raise your score above band 4, you also need to be able to show that you can use some complex sentence types and have an understanding of the relevant tenses and structures. Topics to be covered during this grammar session are the basic parts of speech that includes nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, conjunctions, interjections, and articles. Now, what is the part of speech? The part of speech indicates how a word functions in meaning as well as grammatically within the sentence. All words are divided into grammar groups, which are called parts of speech. Some words can be considered more than one part of speech depending on content and usage. Every sentence you write or speak in English includes words that fall in some of the 9 parts of speech. Learning the names of the parts of speech probably will not make you wise. In fact, learning just the names of the parts of speech won't even make you a better writer. However, you will gain a basic understanding of sentence structure and English language by familiarizing yourself with these labels. Now let us understand what are the parts of speech along with their functions and examples. The part of speech indicates how the word functions in meaning as well as grammatically within the sentence. There are 8 parts of speech in the English language: noun, pronoun, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. All words are divided into grammar groups. The grammar groups are called parts of speech. Each part of speech has its own rule and is necessary to write grammatically correct sentences. So, now let us begin to understand each part of speech with its function and examples. To begin with, the first part of speech, which is noun. What are nouns? They are naming words, naming people, places, things, ideas, and concepts. For example, if I say, Mike owns the fastest car. So in this sentence, we find we have 2 naming words, Mike and car. To come to the second part of speech, that is adjectives. What are they? Adjectives can be defined as describing nouns and sometimes pronouns. For example, that was an exciting film. Now, here we are describing a film and the word which describes the film is exciting. Coming to the third part of speech, which is verbs. What are they? Verbs are generally considered as action words, or even they explain you the state of mind. They express a physical action or state. For example, Federer plays tennis. So here the sentence shows you what action is going on, and that is plays. Come to the next part of speech, which is adverbs. What are they? Adverbs, they modify verbs, adjectives and adverbs as well. For example, the police arrived very quickly. Now in this sentence, if you notice, quickly is an adverb which modifies the word arrived, that is a verb. At the same time, if I talk about the other adverb, that is very, it is modifying the adverb quickly. So you can find in this sentence we have two adverbs which are modifying the verb arrived, and the adverbs are very and quickly. Come to the next part of speech, and which is prepositions. What are they? Prepositions, they are always considered as a very easy topic to study, but in reality they are very important to understand the relationship of words and phrases. For example, the book is on the table. Here the word on shows the location of the book, and where is it? It is on the table. So friends, our next part of speech is pronouns. Friends, you might be knowing, for giving IELTS exams, repetition is not allowed. So, this part of speech will help you a lot. It helps you to replace nouns and to avoid repetition. For example, John gave her a gift. In this sentence, her is a pronoun. Come to the next part of speech, that is conjunctions. What are they? They are the joining words, and they join words, phrases, clauses and ideas. For example, he is tall and slim. You can see that the word and is joining two words. They are tall and slim. Come to the last part of speech, which is interjections. Interjections can be described or defined as the words showing strong emotions or feelings. For example, if you just come across your friend and you just need to ask him about what is he doing, so how will you say, hey, how are you doing? So the word hey is a word which describes the interjections. Articles also play an important role. So even that is considered as an important part of speech, though it is not included in the list. But articles also have their own role to play. To summarize the parts of speech: nouns, naming words, names of people, places or things. Verbs, the state or action word in a sentence. Adjectives give more information about nouns. Adverbs give more information about verbs. Determiners, words that come before most nouns. Prepositions give information about place and time. Pronouns replace nouns. Conjunctions join sentences. Interjections expresses emotions. Let us start understanding each part of speech. To begin with, nouns. Noun is the first lesson you do in grammar. You do it in your primary classes, which is not quite enough as you go for higher classes. You should not consider it just as a game you played during your school days. That was name, place, animal or thing. Now, we know that nouns are the naming words. All the objects which we can see around, hear, taste or touch or smell, and something that we can think of but cannot perceive. Action words, where the complication comes. We were not taught about these nouns in the lower classes, so we take them as verbs. But actually, they are nouns and they have a name called gerunds. But this topic is yet to come, so we will discuss it later. Nouns exist in 5 different types, out of which the 2 main types are the proper and common, which are easy to identify. But the problem begins when it comes to deal with them. The other three, namely material noun, collective noun, and the abstract noun. The problem arises when you come to a group called abstract noun. So, if I ask you about gravity, democracy, predicament, you have no idea what part of speech it is. There are 4 ways to identify nouns, out of which the first is to put an article in front of that word and if it can fit in it. You do not put articles before proper nouns and abstract nouns unless you want to describe it, you want to focus it. For example, the cow is a useful animal. It's a common noun. He is the best boy in the college. College is a collective noun. The democracy is important. Here, democracy is an abstract noun. The second way to identify nouns is to place a possessive adjective before it. For example, my, your, our, his or her. My performance was good. In this sentence, performance is playing the role of an abstract noun and my is a possessive adjective which we can place before it. Second example, our democracy is necessary. Democracy is an abstract noun and our is a possessive adjective. Third, his patience has ended. Patience is again an abstract noun and his is the possessive adjective. The third way to identify them is the demonstrative adjectives. For example, this, that, these and those. This freedom is of no use. So when we place this before freedom, which is an abstract noun, we can identify it as a noun. Second example, this misery is getting too much for me. Misery is again an abstract noun and this is a demonstrative adjective modifying the abstract noun. The fourth way to place adjectives just before the nouns. For examples, smart boy. Here, smart is an adjective modifying the noun boy. Good team, sweet home, hot coffee, unbearable heat, new dress. So all this are the ways to identify a noun. So now let us come to the first noun, which is proper noun. What are proper nouns? They are the names of people, places, things in particular, and we call them as proper nouns. Names of people, names of countries, cities, days of week, famous buildings, places, monuments, planets, etc. They always begin with a capital letter. The second noun, which we call as common nouns, they are names of people, places, things in common, and we call them as common nouns. For example, boy, girl, animal, bank, hotel, airport, library, singer, manager, teacher, etc. Coming to the third type of noun, which we call as collective noun. The name itself gives you the idea. Names given to a group of like objects, people, places and categories. For example, a school of fish, a pride of lions, a flight of stairs, a pile of books, a flood of work. Now we come to the fourth noun, which is material noun. These are the nouns which are the names of the material from which things are made, such as silver, gold, iron, cotton, plastic, etc. Now, the most complicated and often a kind of a noun which confuses the student is abstract noun. What are they? They are the names of the ideas, concepts, feelings which is opposite of concrete noun. You can see, hear, feel, touch them, whereas the abstract nouns cannot be seen, cannot be touched. For example, childhood, wisdom, patriotism, confidence. You can identify these nouns by seeing their endings. You can even make nouns by putting suffix. What are suffix? Suffix are the letters added after a word. For example, you can make the words like arrangement, which is nothing but you add ment, the suffix after the word arrange. You have NESS, again that is the suffix. You can make a word softness by adding it to the word soft. You have other suffix like you can add TION after the word react, and the new word which is formed is reaction. We have more in the list. We can add SION to the word invade, and the new word which is formed is invasion. You can add ANCE to the word remember, which forms a new word remembrance, refer, reference, adequate, adequacy, brave, bravery, inquire, inquiry, just, justice, regular, regularity, warm, warmth, fail, failure, solitude, relief, safe. All this, the list is uncountable. So, this was the end of the types of the nouns. To summarize it again, proper noun, common noun, collective noun, material noun and abstract noun. Nouns can be further bifurcated into two more groups, countable or uncountable. Countable nouns can be counted. They have generally a singular or a plural form. For example, a window or lots of windows. Some countable nouns only have a plural form. For example, clothes, trousers, jeans, scissors. They take a singular or a plural verb form, which is the second rule to identify the countable noun. For example, the window is big if I don't need to talk about a singular noun, or else the windows are big. It can be replaced by a singular or a plural pronoun. For example, I would like that desk. It is better than mine. It has got shelves as well. They are really handy. So you might have seen the difference in the usage of pronouns as well as the verbs which we are using after them. The next rule is they can be measured with weights and measures. You can say 2 kilos of potatoes or numbers. For example, it has got 3 drawers. Can be used with A or N, which is the next rule. For example, if I need to talk about a noun which can be counted, that is a desk, I can say a desk or an apple. Now, let us see what are the uncountable nouns. Yeah, you are absolutely right. They are the one which cannot be counted, and so they cannot be plural. They never exist in a form where they need to add s after it. For example, you cannot say advices, but we can say advice. Talk about furniture. We never say furnitures. It is furniture. Some uncountable nouns look like plural, but they are not. Let us see which are they. News, economics, physics. Now these are the nouns which we always find it as, and we get confused that they are the plurals, but they are not. The second rule to identify the uncountable nouns is they only take a singular verb form. For example, the natural light is really nice. Now here is, which is the verb form, and it is modifying the noun, the natural light, because we all know, we can say that light cannot be counted. The second rule, it can be replaced by a singular pronoun. What shall we say about the furniture? Well, for example, if you come across a place where you can see a good, beautiful furniture, what you will say? It is not luxurious, but it is very comfortable. So here what is the pronoun? It, which is replacing the noun furniture. We never say the furniture are good, but we say the furniture is good. The third rule, the uncountable nouns can be measured, though we cannot count them, but we can weigh them. We can use the measures with the units such as 2 kilos of sugar. I can say that. A piece of advice, I can say a cup of milk, or the next is I can say a piece of information. The next rule is it cannot be used with a or n, like the way we use it for the countable nouns. Generally, it happens that we say or we have the habit of speaking like an information, but that is not the right way because information is the uncountable noun. So we need to say only information, not an information. Now come to the topic of some and any. Now these are the words which we keep on using while speaking, while writing, even though when we do not know exactly where to use or how to use it. So let us see where they can be used. First, some. Some is generally used in positive statements. There are some shelves above the desk. It can also be used in questions and particularly in request and offers. For example, would you like to have some biscuits? Which means that it can be used for asking questions and which we generally speak. The second rule of using some is, what is it? It is nothing but an unidentified or an unspecified amount, but yeah, at the same time, not large. It would be great to get some money to help with the rent. We do not know how much money. We use some with the determiners. For example, my, the, or this to refer to a particular group. So, we can say like some of my students have part-time jobs. So, this was all about you need to remember for some. We have one more word like that and which is any. Do you have any idea where it is used? So, what do we do that? Whenever we ask a question to someone, do you have any idea? Do you know anything about him? So, I think you might be clear with where to use any. Let us see where. Any is usually used in negatives and questions. My desk has not got any drawers. Has your desk got any drawers? So, what did you find? These are the words which I use to ask a question or when you have a negation in your sentence. For example, no, not, never or nothing. Next is, it can be used in positive statements. We can use any in positive statements if it means that it does not matter who, which, where or when. You might have told to someone, call me anytime. What does it mean? Call me anytime if you need further help, which means that it does not matter when you call. We can also use no plus noun to mean the same as not with any. For example, my desk has got no drawers, but that sounds something different. What we can say? We can say my desk has not got any drawers. At the same time, we use no when the noun is a subject. For example, no applicants had the necessary experience for the job. Now here, what is the subject? Applicants, right? But now, the way we say is like not any applicants, which is not correct. So we need to write the word like no applicants had the necessary experience. Come to the words like something, anything, somebody, anybody, etc. So this was all about the explanation and the usage of the words some and any. I hope you have understood that. Now, we come to the next topic, which will make you clear how to use the quantifiers. Now, what are the quantifiers? You know what happens generally when we learn grammar and which makes us complicated are the grammatical terminologies, which are very difficult to remember. But now, let us make it somewhat easy to understand. So, if I say a word which shows the quantities, so for example, if I say, I have a few books. So what am I saying? I'm talking about books. And what am I talking about? A few books. Now, we can use the following words to say how many or how much. Let us see. We have different quantifiers for countable as well as uncountable. Plural countable nouns as well as uncountable nouns. For example, we have some common words which can be used for both. They are everything when you want to show everything. So we use all of for both. Now in case if I want to show something in a large quantity, so I have lots of, I have plenty of, I also use a lot of. But one thing which we should be always aware of is that when you use a lot of, please make sure you are not placing s after it. Similarly, when you use lots of, you need not put a before it. I hope it's clear, right? Then we also use most of for both, but at the same time, if I need to again show something different to show a large quantity, what will it be? So I can say a considerable number of, a substantial number of. But similarly, if I want to show something in a large quantity for uncountable, what will I say? I need to write a considerable amount of, a substantial amount of. Make sure you never use amount for countable and you never use number for uncountable. Clear? Coming to the next is, for example, if I want to show something of medium quantities, so I can use some for both. I can say I need some books. At the same time, I can say I need some water. And you all know very clearly like water is uncountable whereas books are countable. But some can be used for both. So we can say a certain number of, which is nothing but some. Similarly, a certain amount of, which again means small. Now, what if I need to say something of small quantities? Okay, we have the quantifiers for them as well. Which are they? For countable nouns, we have a few or we have few. Similarly, for uncountable, we have little or we have a little. Remember one thing, never use little or a little for countable and never use few or a few for uncountable. What is the difference between few and a few? So if I say I have 4 to 5 books, I can give you. So that 4 to 5 books, I can say I have a few books or I have few books, right? But when I mean I have, so I hope you have understood the quantities or the quantifiers which we use to demonstrate, to describe the nouns we are writing. So we have many quantifiers and we name it as quantifiers, right? So you might have come across certain words like, okay, and at the same time, we also have some more like we can use, if I want to say nothing for both, I have not any, I have none of the two, I have none again, and again the difference between a few and a few. Compare the sentences like, few rooms have such good natural light. What does it mean? Just let me know. Is it okay like if I count, can I be able to or will I be able to count light over there? Not at all, because here the light is natural, which cannot be counted, right? Okay, what's the next? If I say we have a few rooms available, okay, we have a few rooms available with a sea view, okay, with a sea view, which means that it's equal to a small number, which I explained earlier. A few is nothing but a small number. Next, little research has been done in this area. Now little, because research cannot be counted. We can count the ways of research, but research cannot be. So what does it mean? It's not enough. A little research has already been carried out in this area, which again means less than small, a very small amount. Okay, so we use a few of with other determiners. For example, my, the, these, to refer to a particular group. A few of the rooms have a sea view. Lots of a lot of are less formal than much or many. Now what are they? As I mentioned earlier, lots of or a lot of. Again, both are the quantifiers, but they are more used while speaking rather than writing, because while writing we use much or many, we prefer them the more. Okay. Now, there are lots of advertisements for accommodation in the paper. Many scientists believe that global warming is having a negative impact on our climate. So, what do we understand? We do not usually use lots of with negative sentences or statements. We do not have a lot of or much time, so we will have to be quick. So what do we not use? We do not say we do not have lots of time. We avoid the usage of lots of with negations. Clear? Okay. We do not usually use much in positive sentences. For example, I found a lot of information on the internet. I do not say that I do not found much information. Rather than going in a negation, I can use in the different way. Coming to something extra for you to understand, there are certain nouns which can be countable and uncountable. What are they? We need to understand in the context in which they are used, or I can say they are placed, because the way we speak it. Sometimes the same noun can be either countable or uncountable depending on the meaning. For example, light, room, cake and time. Materials and liquids can also be either countable or uncountable. For example, glass, paper, coffee or wine. Let us compare and let us see the example. The natural light is really nice. Now here the natural light cannot be counted, so we consider it as uncountable. But if I say both of the lights in the ceiling are really old. So what do I mean here? I said both of the lights. So it's very clear that we can count it. And here the word light can be counted. There is not much room for a desk. Much room. Here room means a place, a space where I can keep my desk. So here that room is what? Uncountable noun. But if I say we have no spare rooms, here I mean it is countable. If I say, do you drink much coffee? Now, but natural coffee cannot be counted in general, right? But if I say, I would like to order a coffee, please, a coffee, which means I would like to order a cup of coffee, which can be counted. So, this was all about nouns. We studied about the proper nouns, the common nouns, the collective nouns, the abstract nouns and the material nouns. And further we saw two more bifurcations, countable as well as the uncountable noun. With that, we come to the end of the topic, nouns.